Hello and welcome to another book review of mine. Today, I want to talk to you about the fifth season by NK Jemisin, the first book in the critically acclaimed Broken Earth Trilogy. This has just received absolute acclaim ever since it was published in 2015, and the Broken Earth Trilogy was the very first and currently the only trilogy to have ever won the Hugo Award for each individual title, which is just absolutely crazy. But anyways, I after 8 years finally gave this a read, mostly thanks to the Curious King edition that is coming out soon. Curious King is a small press publisher over in the UK, and they're doing a just stunning edition. Four different editions. You got a standard, numbered, lettered, and Roman numeral edition, all of which are letterpressed, all of which are signed by NK Jemisin, also signed by the artist John Anthony Di Giovanni. And well, I'm hyped for it, so I wanted to give the book a read. And man, I've been missing out the past 8 years. This is superb. This is science fiction at some of its best right here. The world of the Broken Earth didn't start broken. It started actually quite whole as the stillness here, as the map shows. And the stillness is a continent, a supercontinent, that has some very unique citizens. You have those who are stillborn, who don't have any powers, but then you also have Orogenies. At least I was told it's pronounced Orogenies. When reading it, I had been calling it Origins, like origin, but apparently it's orogeny. It's those who have the ability to transfer energy. So they are kind of shunned upon by society, by the citizens of the stillness, while also trying to harness their own powers. And so the Fulcrum has been created. It is an organization, a school, if you will, in which the orogenies, orogenic individuals, are taken to as kids and kind of worked into the image of the fulcrum. They are taught and trained for the fulcrum's own use. But anyways, that's just the setting. That's nothing to do with the plot itself. The plot of the fifth season actually follows three different plot lines. It follows the Essun, who is you, which is told entirely through second person, which is a very unique style, but it's done incredibly well. Essun, you are a middle-aged orogeny, a woman with a middle-aged orogenic woman who is living a nice simple life with her husband and her two kids until she comes home and finds that her husband, she's been hiding her orogeny from her husband and her family because, like I said, you're shunned. But she comes home to find that her husband has beat her young child son to death and taken the daughter on the lam. And so Essun is bound to cross the entire damn continent, the entire stillness, to hunt her husband down. Along the way, she's going to meet some interesting characters, such as the incredibly pale and fair-skinned Hoa, who's a very strange child, and you're going to get a sense of the world we're living in. And damn, like that is like the anchor of this novel. You start off with Essun, you end with Essun. The other storylines kind of come and go throughout, but Essun is like the prime storyline, and it is so good. You also have Demaya, who is a young girl who is very young, and her orogenic powers are just starting to come out, and her parents are nervous, and so they send her off to the Fulcrum with the assistance of Shafa, who's one of the Guardians. Guardians are you're a Guardian, she asks? Guardians are, well, they're there to guard the origins, the orogenic people. They work for the Fulcrum. They are the backbone of the Fulcrum. And then you have the third storyline. Oh, so I guess Demaya's storyline is kind of introducing you to the origins. Oh my God, those with orogeny. I keep calling them origins because that's just how I'm going to call them now. But then you also have Cyan, Cyanite's storyline, where she's kind of, what was her age? probably her 20s. She's between, Demaya's a young girl, Essun's a middle-aged woman, Cyanite's kind of in the middle there. She's a rising star of the Fulcrum, who is given the task. She is sent away to essentially just impregnate a ten ringer, who is like one of the most powerful orogeny, yes, one of the most powerful orogenic individuals out there. And hers is, even though even though Essun's storyline literally starts with a dead kid, Cyanite's is definitely the most heart wrenching. Holy crap! You get some real strong character development there with her. And what's incredible is that all three of these storylines work. It doesn't become clustered. It doesn't become too much of a slog. And we're talking, about 500 pages here. Well, I guess 450 pages here. But man, you could read this whole damn thing in one sitting. It is superb. I was kind of on the fence because I'm like, well, the Curious King ones are going to be expensive. So I kind of wanted to hate it because I'm like, well, then I could pass on the Curious King titles or, like not want to keep those. But damn if this didn't hook me in. So the fifth season is superb. If you want to read kick-ass 5-star science fiction, I guess you could say it kind of bridges between science fiction and fantasy. It's not too futuristic or anything. It's kind of, it's down to earth, the stillness being the earth. Then you should check out the fifth season. It's definitely worthy of the Hugo Award. And like I said, there's probably hundreds of these reviews out there singing its praises for the past 8 years. I'm late to the party, but goddamn, I'm going to sing its praises too. I'm going to join that choir. The titular fifth season, which is splitting and bringing upon like an apocalyptic winter upon the stillness, is such a good read. I'm moving on to the second title, The Obelisk Gate, and I'll move on to The Stone Sky from there. Very excited to see what those bring. If you are interested in a fancy edition, like I said, Curious King, the numbered, lettered, and Roman numeral are sold out. There are still surprisingly copies of the standard edition available, which, it's going to be pricier than a regular trade edition. Like I just read this trade paperback. But it is signed by Jemisin. It is signed by John Anthony DiGiovanni. It is still printed letterpress and hand-bound over at Ludlow Bookbinders, which it's going to be a stunning publication. Very excited to see what Curious King does next. Actually, we know what they're doing next. They're doing The Blade itself. They're doing the fifth season. And then they're doing Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There might have been a title in between there, but they're definitely doing Hitchhikers. That is superb. I am very excited to dive into that. Very excited to go into The Obelisk Gate, which is going to be the second title. Seriously, check out NK Jemisin. There is a sold-out edition of Subterranean Press copies, which I don't think featured interior artwork. I think is just a dust jacket. The dust jacket kind of shows the three storylines of Essun, Demaya, and Cyanite. I'm not a huge fan of that dust jacket because it kind of reveals something that might not have been immediately apparent reading the novel, although it becomes apparent as you read the novel. But yeah, not a huge fan of that dust jacket. But that is completely sold out. People are spending ridiculous amounts of money on that online when they could just save some money and go buy the Curious King Standard Edition, which is cheaper than the Subterranean Press 5th season. And no offense to Sub Press, it's going to be better. It's Sub Press has moved on to be a fine press. They do gorgeous editions. I've actually unboxed some of them on my channel here. But 5th season was published back in the day when Sub Press was doing more traditional signed limited editions. Regular book trim size. It is cloth bound, but it's not overly exquisite paper. It's not higher end printing materials like they're doing these days. They actually started doing that with the other Jemisin titles, but the Broken Earth Trilogy was, I believe, kind of in their more traditional limited editions, kind of like they did with Joe Abercrombie. The old Abercrombie titles were their old ones, and then starting with A Little Hatred, they went up to the fancy ones. I think A Little Hatred may have been the very first fancy-ass book Subterranean Press has done for a numbered edition. That was kind of the turning point for them. Anyways, I'm just rambling now. Seriously, check out Curious King. Check out the 5th season. I will do reviews of the next 2 titles as I complete them, so please consider liking and subscribing, and we'll see you around next time.